on Israel Sports Radio. I was on with them, and it was fun. It was interesting to be invited into this forum, to have the opportunity to speak with these guys. They knew their stuff. A lot of good questions, and I thought we had a really good conversation. So I'm looking forward to this.
It kind of is a different world.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Of sports radio.
So we'll get the caller all set. Why don't you go ahead and give us an opening thought while I get the caller on the line? Just give me something to talk about something. It's your show tonight, big boy.
No, my show's next week. Remember that.
Yeah, I'm off and running next week to Cape Cod. I'll try to call in from the road, but that's about it.
If anybody wants a job, we definitely need a phone screener.
Yeah, we really do.
On this program. So Rob can't run off in the back room, talk to everyone while I try to make up some dead air time. I mean, that's the point.
That's exactly. See, at least with my interview with Israel Sports Radio, I had their kind of producer and head man, Raphael, kept getting in touch with me from via email. So we had that all set up, and they called me and off we went. But no, here we don't have the call screener, and
here it's like, the phone's ringing. Let me pick it up. Hey, talk for a few minutes, would you?
And all the interns want to be on the air, so
Yeah, what can you do?
Boy, that was a shot right there, wasn't it?
It was. You went that route.
All right, I'm just going to go right to it because we don't have a call screener. I'm going to welcome in Ari Lewis from Israel Sports Radio, calling us all the way. Really, all the way from Jerusalem? Good evening to you.
That is correct. From Jerusalem, it's 2:05 in the a.m., so if I'm a little drowsy or tired, I apologize in advance. I'll try to bring the energy.
We are no apology necessary. We're thrilled that you would stay up this late or get up this late to call us. How's everything tonight?
Oh, it's definitely staying up late. I wouldn't be able to. I'm a night owl by habit, which is interesting because to follow sports, sometimes you stay up late and get the breaking news, and then sometimes you don't wake up on time. But no, it's great to be on with you guys here in Jerusalem. It's nice and cool in the evening, so taking a walk and then coming back to read all this news about the Nets. The Brooklyn Nets might have a decent team. Joe Johnson, maybe Dwight Howard. I know they don't want Williams to go to the Mavericks, so we'll see what happens out in Brooklyn. It'll be some good stuff.
Chris and I were talking about that very thing off the air. That was going to be one of the topics we were going to touch on tonight. If folks haven't heard, Joe Johnson is reported to be coming over to the Brooklyn Nets in a multiplayer, multi-team trade. Looks like it's going to be an interesting mix there. And then if they can get Dwight Howard, and Howard says he'll play for either the Nets or the Magic, that's it, and then keep Darren Williams, all of a sudden the Nets might be the best team in New York, and that's shocking to hear considering how good the Knicks were last year.
Yeah, absolutely. The Nets, this is a really good move for them to go to Brooklyn because when they're at Newark, I don't know if you guys know, no one cared about the games. What did they have, homeless night? Like if you're homeless, you can get in for free. And they had unemployment night. So no one in Newark cared. It's a nice suburb, Newark, and certain parts are kind of bad neighborhood, but other parts they just kind of chill and they don't really care. But everyone in Brooklyn is obsessed with basketball. You see it all the time. So they'll come out in droves to the arena, and it'll be fun to see the Knicks versus the Nets. You could take, be a Subway Series, but basketball. We haven't really seen that before, so that'll be pretty good. Yeah, but Howard's really holding the Magic hostage. I mean, this is a weird cat. He did this a lot in the season, how he wanted a new coach and general manager and so on, and then now he says if he's going to be traded, it's only to the Nets, which really, really is difficult for the Magic because now everyone knows you can't move him anywhere else. So, I don't know, you're getting a diva when you get Dwight Howard. The Nets have to be aware of that. They are going to get him.
What made you decide on doing a sports talk radio network, and what made you put this together?
Great question. Well, it's interesting because I had a cable access show in America for probably off and on for about 7 years, and then I moved to Israel in 2008, and I kind of thought, well, my broadcasting career was pretty much over because I don't know Hebrew too well, and whatever Hebrew I would pick up would be my second language, and I was going to kind of give up on that dream. And then I did this thing about a year and a half later. It's called Ulpan, where you try to learn the language of Hebrew. It doesn't really work for Americans because we just find other Americans that speak English all day, so it's kind of a waste. But you meet good friends, and I met a friend there named Andy Gershman, and he was in the process of starting a radio show, and he needed a sidekick. So I said, hey, I could do that. And we did a show on Rusty Mike Radio for about 9 months or so, and we got some popularity going. We had a couple of big guests. We had Dana Jacobson from ESPN, and Amy Lawrence and kind of on. And then someone approached us to start our own station, and we've done that for about 2 years now. So it's going pretty good.
It's great. You have had a great list of guests. If you go to the website, IsraelSportsRadio.com, you can see it's just a very large who's who of guests from, as you mentioned, Dana Jacobson, to people like even Pete Rose and so on. So there's been a lot of good people coming and talking to Israel Sports Radio. I enjoyed it personally. I wondered about a couple of things, and, I'm trying not to sound foolish by asking this, but working in a place like Israel, like Jerusalem, obviously religion is such a big name of the game, and there's Sabbath, holy days, and things like that to consider. What do you do with situations like that?
Well, we don't broadcast on the Sabbath here, and what I do is I run a rerun. So if, for example, if you're on the East Coast at Friday, let's say noon, it's already the Sabbath here or very close to it. But if you go to Israel Sports Radio and click on hear what we have to say to listen live, you'll still hear some programming, but it'll be reruns. It won't be anything live. So we do respect the Sabbath. We don't do any live shows on that or any of the holidays.
That's a good way to handle it. Chris, I'm going to let you jump in as well. Chris Irway here with me. Chris, what do you have?
I had actually had kind of an initial question is, you mentioned having all these great guests on. How popular is sports radio in Israel? And with kind of the growth you've seen so quickly, where do you expect this to go in the future? I mean, how big can this get for you guys?
Well, I mean, sky's the limit. There's a big group of people that have moved here from America that miss sports talk. It's one of the things they miss the most from the United States, so they're happy to have it back. So in that respect, it's going pretty good, where we have a fan base from the United States, and a lot of Israelis will like it because it's a good opportunity for them to learn about American culture and English. A lot of people say that Israel is the 51st state of the United States. All the Israelis want to be in the United States, and then sometimes a lot of the Jews in the United States want to be in Israel, so the grass is greener type of thing. So they get to learn about culture. And as far as where our show could go, I mean, I don't know. We're just gonna keep going and see what we can do. I've been very pleased in the last 6 months. This last 6 months, we really took off with, as you mentioned, Pete Rose, and we had Kurt Schilling, and we had a lot of people from ESPN, Mark Stein and Tommy Smith, a lot of people that I followed as just a fan of sports, and now I get to interview them. It's something I never thought would happen. I'm very fortunate. It's just really a dream come true. It feels like I won an Oscar or something, but it's just kind of how I feel.
What's the more popular sports over in Israel? What are people following?
Well, the number one sport here is soccer, of course, as it is through the whole world, except the United States, which is ironic, but it's starting to come along. I've been forced to learn soccer. It is not my initial sport that I like, but I've been picking up out of the Euro. Everyone has watched the Euro on the street where I live, so it keeps me up at night. They're watching these bars. So I know that's been good on. That's the number one sport. Number two is probably basketball, and I would say Maccabi Tel Aviv is probably your best team in the world outside of the NBA. There's a lot of guys that are almost NBA players, or they had great college careers, and they play for Maccabi Tel Aviv. And then there's actually a football league here, believe it or not, American Tackle Football League, which Mr. Kraft of the Patriots, he sponsors. It's called the Kraft Family IFL, and he paid millions of dollars for a little stadium where they play, and that's somewhat getting popular. I don't know how far that will go right now. It's only been around about 5 years, but it's started to pick up. There's about 10 teams. I think there's going to be 12 this next season, so that's popular. There was a baseball league a few years ago, and it didn't really work out the first time. Now it's starting up again, so that can work out. But the top two sports are definitely soccer and basketball.
713 on the press box. Glad you're along with us. Don't forget the phone number is 203-661-5051. What are you finding in terms of fan interest? You mentioned soccer, you mentioned basketball and football and baseball to a certain extent. What are you finding fans want to hear you talk about? Is soccer really the top thing, or are they wanting to learn more on other sports?
I think they want to learn more about other sports, especially the American sports, because a lot of you guys, we're fortunate when growing up in the United States to hear maybe Pete Rose or someone close to that on talk radio, or to hear sports being talked about. But to have an opportunity to hear Pete Rose here at Israel was really great for the fans of Israel to learn about his career, learn about his take on steroids and the Hall of Fame and the game in general, how it's really changed since Pete played. It was funny because our angle, we kind of throw in a Jewish angle about Sandy Koufax. He brought it, actually, I brought that up about playing against Sandy. What was it like? And he said it wasn't fun. He said everyone gets to come into Dodger Stadium and watch a pitch, but you have to face him. And he talked about what it was like to face Sandy Koufax in his rookie year. It said Sandy was much better than Nolan Ryan. He said he had an easier time facing Nolan Ryan than Sandy Koufax. So in addition to what we offer the Israeli fan base of something they haven't heard before, we also offer a bit of a Jewish angle if we can. If there's someone involved in the Jewish world, we try to interview them. We're hoping to have we're going to actually have one of the Miami Heat owners, Renan Katz, on this week. So we try to do that angle a little bit as well.
In this day and age, so much is available online, and you can pretty much get any station. I mean, folks could try to listen to us or anything else. What do you offer? Is it primarily that Jewish angle and kind of being able to explain the sports to Israelis, or what would you say your selling point is?
Well, it's that. It's also our show is very interactive. Like I'm sure a lot of radio stations, you can chat to us right away and call us as well. And if you're listening to some of the stations, Dan Patrick is a big fan of his show. But if you want to call on the show, it would probably take a few hours if you're lucky. Or if you chat, he's not going to respond right away. We're very fan interactive, which is way I think radio should be. I think sometimes some of the national guys are a little too far away from the fans, and we're very involved with our fan base. And also, I think our show is simply unique because of how me and Raphael speak about the sports, our different takes. It's kind of we fill in each other's strengths and weaknesses. Raphael knows soccer a lot better than I do, and I know boxing a lot better than Raphael does. So we complement each other very well. And then again, all the guests we get, as you mentioned, the kind of a who's who, our guests are just as good as anyone you'll find in the United States. If there's a show out there that's had Pete Rose and Roy Jones Jr. and Kurt Schilling, I say in Hebrew, kol kavod, congratulations. But they're not, not everyone has that out there. So you're listening to our style, our guest, and it's fan interactive. So that's my selling point to everyone out there.
Back here in the United States, the Yankees have taken a 1-0 lead in the top of the first on the Tampa Bay Rays, thanks to a bloop gift double down the right field line off the bat of Mark Teixeira. Hideki Matsui, for reasons unknown, playing right field tonight for the Rays, and he misplayed the ball. It got lost in the dome at the Trop.
From your face, it looked like the Rays had a grand slam or something. It looked like you wanted to jump out the window.
I feel
the Yankees get a gift running. You're still upset.
No, I feel bad for Matsui, a former Yankee hero.
Yeah. Well, the saying is, once a Yankee, always a Yankee. I think that may have been done on purpose, if you know what I mean.
That's a fair point. So you're having a great time with all this and living the dream for sure.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. By the way, Matsui, just real quick, he was the World Series MVP a few years ago, and he only had 13 at-bats, that's why a World Series MVP is always kind of funny. Like a basketball finals MVP, you have to earn it. You have to score probably 30 points a game. So you're talking at least 150 points, and he had 8 hits in that World Series against the Phillies as the MVP. But yeah, it still goes down in Yankee lore for helping them win the World Series that year. And like I said, once a Yankee, always a Yankee. He remembers.
Well, there's no doubt about that. And boy, that would bring up a great discussion on MVPs of World Series and Super Bowls, because there are really some dicey picks out there. That's an excellent topic to go to.
Well, you love lists, Rob. You love lists.
I do.
I'm a big World Series MVP type of guy, or NBA Finals MVP. And last season, I'm a big Cardinals fan. I grew up watching them as a kid, so they won the World Series. And I understand giving it to Freese because of the 2 big hits, but if you really, really look at it, Molina should have won the MVP because the Rangers were known for their excellence in stealing bases. They were in the top 5, I think, in the American League, and they stole 1 base in the 7 games because of Molina's arm. And I think people forget the defensive aspect of a catcher like Molina. So he was really MVP, but I know they had to give it to Freese because, Game 6 was – we were up till 7 in the morning here in Israel watching that game, and I couldn't believe it. I called Cardinals in 7 before the series started, and it looked like my pick was about to slip away. I was with 2 strikes twice, so I was nervous. But me and a bunch of Cardinal fans screamed like the Messiah came or something when he got those hits.
2-0 Yankees on an RBI single by Robbie Cano. Don't you know?
Oh, give me. I'm out of here. I'd rather. Never mind.
No, whatever you're going to say, just hold it right. Well, I'll go that MVP route for one more second since we're talking about that. I think one of the all-time bluffs was a guy that was on your network, which would be Curt Schilling, because Curt Schilling was 3 outs away from being a World Series GOAT, losing Game 7 for the Diamondbacks, and instead becomes the co-MVP in 2001.
That's a great point. I mean, Randy Johnson had 3 wins in that series, and they probably put Curt as the co-MVP because he started 3 times, and it was a better story. But I tell you also, an interesting fact with the voting, and I don't know how this happened. There were 5 votes for the MVP. 2 went to Randy Johnson, 2 went to Curt Schilling, and 1 went to Tony Womack. So I think there was some type of fix in there to set them up as co-MVPs. Because God bless Tony Womack. He was a great shortstop for us and all, but not an MVP. So they wanted the story to end that way or something. I don't really know. We talked about that pitch to Soriano, and he said that it was the pitch he wanted. It was just kind of the wind took it out, and he thought the World Series was he still had faith in his team, but he obviously was nervous. The key with the bottom of the 9th that inning was Mark Grace leading off, who it's weird because Mark Grace is kind of this goofy guy, but he had the most amount of hits in the 1990s. So that, as a Diamondbacks fan, we had some confidence, but I thought it was over. I'm not going to lie to you. Mariano Rivera, I thought it was done. I thought it was all done. Let's see. I don't know if that was a bad pick or not. I hear your point. I guess it for sure should have gone to Randy Johnson because of the 3 wins. I don't know. Kurt's been on my show. I don't want to speak bad about him, so.
That's very fair. We can understand that. All right, it was so much fun being on with you guys, and I mentioned this to Raphael. You guys ever need anything from us, we are more than happy to help out here in New York and Connecticut and whatnot. And it was a lot of fun. I love doing interviews, so coming on and talking with you guys was great fun, and you're welcome here anytime.
Oh, thank you. It's very nice to you, and I really appreciate the plug. And everyone, when you get a chance, check out Israel Sports Radio. Not during this show, of course, though. Don't take away these guys' ratings. But after the show, you can check out IsraelSportsRadio.com. And as you mentioned, the who's who of guests we have, it's all podcasts, so you can hit play and listen to any interview that's on the front page. And we have a back page for other stuff, too, blogs and all that good stuff. So give us a try, see what you like, and just go from there. I think you'll really enjoy it.
Well, come back and visit us again anytime, and thank you so much for some time. I know it's really late over there, and even though you're a night owl, I'm sure you want to at least get some sleep.
Yeah, well, tomorrow I have to go see the accountant, so, yeah. Maybe I'll sleep in and try to avoid it and procrastinate because this accountants. I know I'm Jewish in a Jewish country, but no, we still don't like accountants out here. It's so hard to deal with.
Thank you so much for doing this, and we'll do it again.
All right, have a good one, guys. Be well.
All right, thanks. You too.